Hello everyone, this is Robert and this is my Avid CNC router. I just started doing a workshop makeover. I'm rearranging everything, moving everything, changing everything around, and I need to get this machine moved. And it's a lot trickier than I first thought. So watch me struggle trying to get this thing mobile and moved around my workshop. So if you follow me on Instagram, thank you, but you probably saw me make a post a few weeks ago where I made a 32:1 scale model of my entire workshop and all the tools that are inside. It's nothing fancy, it's just kind of laser cut footprints, but it gives me a really good idea of how to kind of rearrange and shift everything without physically having to do it, because a lot of the stuff is very big and heavy and I don't really have the room to shift stuff around. I'm starting with the Avid CNC because it's the largest and it also has a lot of constraints. I can't just move this to the middle of the workshop because it needs dust collection, it needs a dedicated 220 outlet, it also needs 110, and it's also very big and needs a lot of space around it. So I'm kind of starting with this whole workshop makeover with the Avid because everything else kind of needs to go around it. So this isn't the first time that I've tried to move this. I've moved it, I think, 2 times in the past. The very first time it wasn't fully built, so it was a lot lighter and that was much easier. And the last time I just kind of nudged it over a little bit. But now I want it to be fully mobile. I want to be able to kind of try it out in different locations. And that was difficult. I definitely spent a whole day failing on this. It has a lot more stuff on it. It's got a lot more weight on it. And I admittedly had a bunch of stuff stacked on top of it, and I just couldn't get it to a stable point. I tried different casters. I didn't have anything that had quite the load rating. I even tried some of these Irwin quick lifts. I have these for another application. They're really nice, but I think they kind of max out around 200 pounds. They claim 330, but anything over 200 pounds, they just don't really feel like they're doing what they should be doing. So it's time to break out the big guns, and I end up getting a set of 4 of these. These are Footmaster leveling casters, and these are the ratcheting version, and these will be fantastic. I'll be able to level the machine, move it around, and give it a stable footprint. So let's take a closer look at these guys. So these are leveling feet. These are made by Footmaster. It is a GDR 80S, and it is a combination leveling foot and caster all in one, and these have a really cool ratcheting mechanism I'll talk about in a second. I have the exact link to the ones that I bought down below on Amazon, and these guys are $60 a piece. So this is $240 worth of casters, which I'm not too thrilled about, but these are, very nice quality. So they have a leveling foot on the bottom. So the idea is that you would attach these to the machine, this pulls out, and then you can actually use this. I'll hold this in place. We can use that's raising the foot, flip this little switch, and now we can lower the foot, slide that back in place, and we are good to go. Each one of these has a load rating of 500 kilos or 1,100 pounds, so this should be more than enough for the Avid. And what's kind of cool is you can just raise that foot up. Now you're resting on this solid nylon caster. You can move the thing around when it's in its final location, pop this out, lower the foot, and you are good and stable. But there's one big problem with these. They have a 1/2" 13 stem at the top, and on the bottom of the legs, it is an M16. So I need to figure out a way to adapt an M16 down to a 1/2". I did a lot of research online and I found a lot of drill bits that will open up a hole and make it bigger, but I didn't find any drill bits that will actually make a hole smaller. So if you have an idea on how to do that, let me know. There's a few different ways I could approach this. I could make a stud that goes from 1/2" 13 up to an M16. I could do something like that, but that's going to be annoying and I don't really want to do that. There are also nut reducers, which is basically just an insert that I could thread into the M16 that would size it down. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anything that goes from M16 down to 1/2". So the other option is just to remachine those little end caps. And I think that's what I'm going to do because I have the material on hand and I've got a mill. So let's do that. I'm not going to go into too many details on this since it's a relatively simple part, but I had some stock on hand. This was about 2-inch wide and I think about 3/4 inch thick. And I just cut this into blanks. I'm cutting it about 90 millimeters, so it's going to be about 90 by 50, and I need this to be 40 by 80. So that should give me enough stock to machine away so I can be left with the final part. It's actually been quite a while since I machined something, and thankfully I haven't forgotten how to do it. Once I get the stock loaded up into the vise, I'm just indicating it, and I'll just swap this out. It's a pretty simple thing. I'm just using a 3/8 inch 2-flute end mill to cut out the outside and then do the counter bores. Instead of doing all the drilling on the mill as well, I'm just using a spot drill just to kind of peck the middle, and then I can take that off and use the drill press to actually drill it out while the next one gets machined. That is the beauty of a CNC machine, is while it's doing something, you can do something else. Okay, so now we've got these done. The other one is still on the mill. And all we need to do now is just face this off, drill the center hole, tap it, and we should be good to go. I probably should have used my fly cutter to face this down, but I just kept the 3/8 inch end mill in there because it was cutting fine. It took maybe 5 minutes to face this, and the mill definitely likes climb cutting and doesn't like conventional cutting, but it worked out just fine. And when one was being cut, I could drill out the holes and deburr and do everything else. So yeah, the workflow worked out pretty good for me. Tapping aluminum is generally pretty uneventful, and this was no exception. It went just fine. I did have a really old tap that was very dull, and it took a lot more force than I would have liked, but yeah, everything went just fine. Side note, if you don't have one of these ratcheting tap handles, you should get one. They're from Harbor Freight, they're really cheap, so next time you're there, pick one up. This is one of those tools that if I lose, I will absolutely buy another one, because that exact same thing happened at BattleBots. It just got misplaced, and as soon as I got back home, I went out and bought another one. I really like it. They're really nice. Okay, let's see how we did. Nice. These will work great. Before I try and decide how I'm actually going to get these on the machine, I decided to just kind of take off some of the edges and take off the shine with a random orbit sander, just 220 grit. I'm not really trying to put a finish on these or anything. It's just that nothing else on the machine is shiny and machined. Everything's kind of dull, so I'm just kind of dulling them up. And this also takes off some of the sharp edges from machining. So yeah, just took a couple minutes with the random orbit sander. So now I have my 4 adapter plates made. They look good. They turned out just fine. Now I need to figure out how to get them underneath the machine. I've got to lift this up enough to be able to unscrew these feet and to unscrew the existing plates. I remembered that I have a 20-ton hydraulic press, so I took out the jack on that. I'm gonna put this underneath this crossbeam right here, jack the whole front up, take all the stuff out, put in the new ones. Cross your fingers, wish me luck. The process was pretty straightforward. I did one end at a time using a combination of the bottle jack and the Irwin quick lifts to just kind of lift up the end, get it stabilized, unscrewed the feet, unscrewed the plate, put the new one in, and then rinse and repeat for the whole rest of the machine. One of the things that I like about these Footmaster casters is the whole load of the foot or the leg is going on the top plate of the caster. Some casters that have stems have kind of like this built-in nut at the top, and you're riding all of the weight just on that little junction point, or it's resting on the actual threads of the stud. But in this case, all of the weight is transferred from the foot directly into this top plate, which should make it a lot more stable. So that wasn't a whole lot of fun. I really don't like being underneath this thing when it's being elevated up in the air. But looks like all of the feet are up, so we're just riding on the casters. Let's see how easily it moves. Nice. That is super easy. It's hitting something over here. I'm not really sure what that is. There's still a ton of wires underneath of it. As much as I want to just kind of spin it around for the YouTube views, I'm not going to do that because there's a lot of stuff underneath. So this is fantastic. This will allow me to actually clean underneath of this thing because crawling around down there, there's a lot of chips probably embedded in my knees. So yeah, overall, that is going to be absolutely fantastic. This thing moves without a problem. So next thing is I'm just going to drop this down. I'm not going to fully level it, but I kind of want to see what it feels like when it's locked in place and not on the actual caster. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I got all the feet pushed down. It is resting on just the feet right now. And it's actually solid. So thank goodness. Long time ago, I had a Precision Matthews PM30 MVL manual mill that I converted over to CNC, and I used something like these. They were a cheap knockoff. I think it was only like 80 bucks for the whole pack of 4. And once you got up on the feet, the whole thing was just wobbly. So I was a little reluctant to get these, but James Clow used these on a surface plate, granite surface plate that he just did. He really liked them and he recommended these to me. I went with the larger size. He went with the 60 series. I went with the 80 series. These are 500 kilogram rated. Yeah, and they are nice. This is going to be fantastic. So thanks for watching. I'm gonna now do the whole rest of my shop. This is one of like 50 things I have to do the reorganization that I want to do, but keeps me off drugs. So anyway, thanks for watching. Check out the links down below and see you in the next video. Bye.